$114,100. This is what the assessed value is on the books for Petersburg, and I'm wondering, what are we receiving for the sale of this property? Well, I only listed those that are on Union Street, which is assessed on the city website now. I haven't listed 801 South Ave. Question number 2. Who will have ownership of this property once built? Question 3. Have neighboring businesses been contacted in regards to the sale? Question 4. What is the historical impact of this property? 5. I think you kind of answered some earlier as the type of veterans that will be housed here. 6. Being that this will be another government project, what ensures us that the funds will not run out in a year? Next question. Age and mental capacity of these veterans. 8, cost of the apartments. And 9, will all the veterans be disabled? And I'm asking these questions because all I've seen on this basically is a request for the property. And I haven't seen anything, and for me to release this property, I would need to know more than what I've received. So.
Councilman Hart, there are very good questions, and you're also bringing in the questions from the group here, the community, which I think are fair questions. This is serious business. I assure you I take it seriously, and so I'm here to answer the questions to the extent I can. The first question, I think, had to do with the price. Right now, I think the only price that has been set, and right now, let's make it clear what we're talking about. We're talking about 29 Union Street. That's the old Roper Furniture Company. I think you guys call it the school board. Yeah. That, I think somebody was correcting you, Councilman Hart, that it is assessed at like 1.2 million, I think. $1,084,700. You have a better number now? Yeah. I'm just guessing. I'm not saying that. You are right. Let's talk about that building. Yes. Why does the city own it? Because it was given to the city. Why did the city give it to them? Because they couldn't sell it and they didn't want to pay the taxes. Okay? So it's sitting there. How much revenue is the city receiving from that property? Zero. How much revenue will the city receive from it when they convey it to the project? That project then, even though it's a nonprofit, still goes back onto the city's rent rolls. So whatever the assessed value is at that time, this will now be taken off of the city's books where there's zero revenue for a property that someone gave to the city because they determined it wasn't worth keeping. And now you're going to, I have no idea whether we assess that in. All I can tell you is that it will pay tax as soon as it's today. So it's not the full value. I do not know. What is the full tax, sir? I don't know. And I'm sorry, I shouldn't be debating with you. But the full tax is this. It will be the full tax. It will be at least $1 million because it's going back on.
Mr. Gregory, address the council, please.
You're exactly right. And thank you for reminding me.
Okay.
The purchase price is $150,000 for that. 0 versus 150 is the way. I'll tell you that similar projects like this, they don't work. If this project had to pay $1 million, it would not work. I did exactly the similar project, but smaller, in the city of Charlottesville. We are going to have it completed and next winter, in December. The city of Charlottesville gave a grant of $1 million. Now, I know it's not comparing apples and oranges, but what I am telling you is in terms of construction costs and whether or not you can do a project, there is only so much that the project can bear. That's on that. I think the other two buildings across the street, if that's on the agenda, or those two buildings?
They're not.
Okay. The other property, I think we're talking about the hospital. The hospital property is, I think all that city council, and you have to correct me, Mayor, that we have not reached a price, that what council is looking for is, the mayor and the economic development manager and the city manager are looking for is your agreement that it's surplus and that they can then start negotiating on a price. So we're not talking about a price on that right now. And so that's still within your purview of what happens on that. The only price that we have talked about is for 29 Union Street. Other questions, and Councilman Hart, you'll have to refresh me what your questions are, but one of the questions I remember is how many units, how many apartment units? Well, right now there are 70 to 74 apartment units, and that's going to vary. Once we understand that this project is a go, we'll finalize architecture plans, determine the unit count and the mix of apartments, bedrooms in each apartment. But right now it's roughly 70 to 75 apartments. The budget for this project is roughly $12 million. Where the money comes, and that was a very good question that the audience had, is how do we know, because we do know that so many government programs are here today and gone tomorrow. This project is being financed by affordable tax credits, affordable income housing tax credits. And the way that works is that credits are created today. Banks and other financial institutions purchase those credits in order to satisfy their Community Reinvestment Act responsibilities. So that money is contributed to the project, and it pays the debt down to where the property can handle the debt and agree to charge rents which should be no higher than 30% of the individual's income. The rents in these apartments will be from $350 to $550 a month, in that range. At Fountainhead, we've done a number of these projects. A number of people in this room have seen our product. Because we take advantage of the tax credits, we build out our apartments, whether they're affordable or market rate, exactly the same. There's no need to cut costs when your amount of credits you get are based on how much you spend. So the good news is this is not dependent on a federal program to be around. This happens right now. When we close, we get the money from the financial institutions, our debt is reduced. We then sign and record a restrictive easement. We sign a restrictive easement that's recorded in the courthouse that says for 30 years that property has to be used as affordable housing, which means it has to have those guidelines of income and rent limitations. So that's how the program works. It's the way it works everywhere around the country, and it's really the only mechanism for affordable housing that we have in America to help subsidize. But that's a great question. What if the money goes away? The other question, I think, Councilman, that you had to do with historic. This project, another reason why it's such an appropriate place, is that it is an historic district. My company has probably done more historic deals in Richmond and the Piedmont area than anybody. We make our living off of satisfying the historical requirements and keeping the buildings looking consistent with the historical context in which they're in. This property will qualify and will take advantage of historic tax credits, so the Department of Historical Resources and the Federal Department of the Interior will be the watchdog and make sure that it is developed consistent with the historic fabric of downtown Petersburg. Other questions? I've lost track of.
You talked about your exception clause.
The which clause, I'm sorry?
The exception clause as it relates to the renters.
In terms of credit, stability, or what?
A bit of all of it. You talked about credit, responsibility of
Yes.
tenants, and all of those. How do we know you're going to stick with that, or is it just a selling point?
Well, my track record. I will put my track record up against anybody. This is what I do. This is what we do. The fact that the city of Richmond has trusted me for 15 years. The city of Charlottesville just trusted me. And if I want to continue to develop, which I want to very much, it's a small world here. And you gentlemen and ladies will tell people around the state whether or not I'm honoring my word. That's the only way I can answer that. But let me also say the thing that you should feel comfortable with, our partner, who will own a percentage of this, we're in the middle of negotiating how much percentage, but they will own no less than 10. I would like for them to own the whole thing, is Virginia Supportive Housing, a group that is the gold standard in Virginia for managing their properties and taking care of the housing needs. I'm sure that the Commissioner Ubel was gone, but he can tell you about Virginia Supportive Housing. They're one of the service providers at the Freedom Center. My gosh, that's your gold standard. That you better believe they're going to keep this property in mind. And for anything else?
Councilman Hill?
Yes, a couple of questions. You answered some of them. Let me start off by saying, first of all, respect and love our veterans. My grandfather fought in World War II. My brother just retired, did 26 years, and I got a nephew in the Marine Corps now. But while we're here now, we have our residents. I've had several phone calls from veterans, with their concerns, and in a normal situation, I apologize to our